Welcome to the Roadmap to Secure Love. In today's episode, Kim and Kyle discuss the grief, shame, and judgment that often follow divorce, and how to protect your heart and heal. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Roadmap to Secure Love. In today's
When we say I do at the altar and get married to our partners, we often share vows about being together till end of life, right? And through sickness and health and all that. The reality is sometimes life pulls us apart, things happen, and we end up separating from our partner, getting divorced. And what's so interesting is culturally, families and friends will treat us very differently if if our partner dies versus if we divorce and separate. And Kim and I want to talk about kind of that difference and how it impacts us and sometimes can leave us feeling really isolated and alone as we navigate the struggling components of our relationship or in the aftermath of separation.
Yeah, this is a huge thing, right? Because there's such a cultural component. There's also a faith component, depending on what faith you're coming from. Like you don't divorce.
Mhm.
So if somebody dies, everybody's wrapping around you and loving on you, at least at the beginning, right? And then they kind of like go on with their life. But there's more compassion, there's more understanding, there's more sympathy. If you've separated or get a divorce, there's judgment. What didn't you do?
Right.
You didn't try hard enough.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, my child got a divorce. I thought I taught them better as a mother,
Mhm.
right? And you get a lot of silence, judgment, and feeling really abandoned.
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden that when you struggle most, the people you need around you aren't there. And instead they're looking down upon you.
Yeah, that's awful. That's awful. You know what? I wish that we could like change the wedding. Wouldn't it be fun instead of saying like to death do us part? We look at each other and be like, as long as we're helping each other and helping each other grow and we're good for each other, we'll stay married.
Mhm. Yeah, I
It's
mean, I
like
think
forever.
that's the part of it. It's this idea of death do us part, but it's all the stuff that happens during that time, right? It takes so much work, and sometimes even with all the work, it's not enough for a marriage to stay together,
No.
right? Sometimes we have blocks that really get in the way, and we're just not able to get past that from childhood trauma, other stuff that comes up. And there's not much space for people, especially family or sometimes even friends, to really have our backs in understanding and accepting that some relationships, even if there's not an affair or a massive secret or a financial betrayal, that sometimes, even with a ton of work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to therapy all the time and do all the stuff. And sometimes it's just not meant to be
Even sometimes with the world's best therapist.
with the world's best therapist,
Mhm.
you know? And it's not that you haven't tried,
Right.
it's that you're no longer a good fit. And so, what do we do then, Kyle, when people start judging us, stop supporting us, kind of have like, oh, you're the divorcee?
I mean, the first thing we really need to focus on is our own self protection with people who are not safe and have things that are coming up for them that make it hard for them to create a safe space of support for us. And so, what we do with that is we start to set boundaries, right? If we have people, when we talk about divorce or try to open up and they start to judge us, we just go, hey, this is not something I want to continue talking with you about, right? And we just close it off.
Yeah.
Because it's we don't want to go in it, we don't want to be in a position where we're trying to coach this person how to get through their judgment just so they can show up for us, right? At this time, we're already vulnerable, we're already going through a lot. We need people, and we need to find the people who have our backs. And sometimes that's family, sometimes that's not family. Sometimes that's our best friend, sometimes it's not our best friend, right? Sometimes it might just be a therapist, and that's all you might have. at least initially, right? But the important part is to have someone who can really understand and connect and see your unique experience and why you chose to separate.
Yeah. We need that support because it is like a death in some way of like a death of a dream.
Yeah.
A death of, I mean, nobody gets married and says, in 5 years, I'm going to get a divorce.
Right. Or in 20.
Yeah, nobody says that.
Mhm.
Um, we really do believe that it's going to last forever, and we're going to have this awesome time and awesome marriage, and we're going to be able to work through it all. So there's a lot of grief of things not coming to completion, right? And yet, it's ended. They're out of our lives, but they're still there.
Mhm.
They're like, we see them on Facebook or we have the same circle of friends. So we still got to navigate.
Right. Or we might still have holidays with them because we're trying to get together for the kids. Or we
Yep.
might see them at graduation and not say a single word.
Yes. Listen to that pain.
Mhm.
It's awkward. It's painful.
Mhm.
It's a loss of a dream. It's a loss of a vision. And there's a lot of shame on it
There is.
because people have put it there.
Mhm.
We've put it there. And so we allow shame to come in and we push out grief, right? But what we really want and what we need is acceptance, love, and a place where we can hold the grief,
Yeah. Even within ourselves, right?
even within
To have
ourselves.
that self-compassion of this is really hard, not wow, I really failed. What's
Yeah,
wrong with me that I couldn't communicate better? What's wrong with me that I didn't do this? Right. And sometimes you have done that, but it just didn't work.
yeah,
Right. And so it's important to be gentle with ourselves first and have that tenderness because that's going to help us set some of these boundaries with the people who are not safe and then seek out other people who will offer that tenderness too.
yes,
And if you struggle with the shame and not getting really loud, therapy could be a great place to unpack that so that you can get through the shame into the grief that your heart really needs to feel and to have it connected with. Because that's what's so painful is you have this grief and if you don't feel like there's anyone there for you to process that, that's even more isolating and can add even more shame to the whole process of it.
yeah. You know what I've noticed, Kyle, is that you and I often talk about how the culture, how we were raised, our family of origin, faith, often talks to us. And it's important to kind of be like, decide what we want to accept and what we don't want to accept. That's here too,
Mhm.
right? It's like we're hearing all of these voices telling us how we should live with our partner or if we should keep working on it. And have they lived in the house with our partner?
Nope.
Do they wake up every day next to our partner?
Nope.
Have they been hurt?
No.
Yeah, they have no idea what it's like.
No, they don't.
And so they're speaking about something that they actually have no idea what they're speaking to, and they don't have a place to speak to it.
Mhm.
So there's a part of us that's got to say, look, I know you have your opinion, but until you've walked in my shoes, you don't get to say something here.
Right.
And quite frankly, nobody's going to walk in your shoes because nobody has lived the life that you've lived with your partner.
Mhm.
And so it's really getting to this place of a secure self of saying, I know what I needed to do for me. I know what I've needed to do for our partner. We've tried everything that we can, and it's time for us to go.
Mhm. Right. And having that security and making that the loudest voice is going to be the most helpful, because when other people's voices, even if they're people who love us, right, they don't have an understanding, even if sometimes we're explaining some of it. Sometimes the explaining or opening up about some of the stuff will shift family members or will shift our friends and their perspective, which is beautiful and helpful, right? And other times we do, and then there's more judgment and it's less safe, right? And so these voices are, how do I want to put it? Um, they're not the core voice you need to be listening to. They're supplemental voices, right?
Yeah,
That you get to kind of filter through and decide what's going to be best for me.
yeah,
Ultimately, your lived experience is your lived experience. And having that self-trust of, I have given it my all, I've done the best I can, and now I know it's time to go. Or even, hey, I haven't given it my all and I still want to go. Actually what my heart says is the best thing for me,
yeah,
that I'm going to trust that.
yeah.
And that's scary. That's vulnerable.
So if you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, I have a failed relationship, we haven't made it, we're separated, we're divorced, we've gone our separate ways. Good for you. I'm glad that you've listened to yourself. And it's hard. And if you have followed that inward voice for yourself and you've said, I cannot do it anymore, we're proud of you, even though it's hard.
Even though it's hard.
Even though it's hard. Now, Kyle, I hear one of our listeners in my head,
Mhm.
right, saying, yeah, well, I was left and I didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that's a whole other podcast that we need to do.
Yeah. And that's another hard thing, right? Especially if our partner, trusting themselves, goes, I'm done. I don't want to put any more work. I'm not willing to,
Mhm.
right? Then that leaves other partner who's wanting to fight, wanting to do all this stuff, wanting to push for the relationship to work. That's a whole different type of grief to hold to,
It
right?
is.
And that's something Kim and I'll cover in another episode.
Yeah, because we need space for you too,
Yeah.
right?
So really kind of what we're talking about is in the aftermath of separation for that partner who did choose to separate, and you're finding that family isn't there for you or other people aren't there for you. The best things for you to do is to set those boundaries. Be tender with yourself and find the people who will have your back and be supportive and caring, and make space for why you've done what you've done, so that you can have that support to not be in shame, but to be in the grief. Because even if you're walking away from the relationship, there's a lot of grief. Even if there's been issues for a decade or more, there's still grief, there's still loss, and that needs to be held and cared for too.
Yeah. And make space for that secure self that you've listened to be celebrated, even in the midst of that grief.
Thanks for joining us today. Here are the key takeaways from this episode. 1. Protect your heart. 2. Set clear boundaries. 3. Grieve without shame. 4. Trust your inner voice. And 5. Seek safe support. Follow Kyle and Kim on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Be sure to sign up for the Secure Attachment Path course to explore your attachment style, uncover relationship patterns, and learn practical tools for building secure connections. Link to the course can be found in the show notes and on our website. Until next time, stay connected and love fully